Hello and welcome. So this isn't a get in tune, but or maybe it could be part of it. I'm going to be talking about my comic update. I'm in week 3 of making a comic, and well, first and foremost, it didn't go this week the way I wanted it to. Um, I am sorry. I'm just setting up the screen a little better here. Uh, so let me explain. I set up a comic idea a while ago for those who are watching for the first time. And what happened was I said I'm going to document my process because I want to hold myself accountable. And I ended up making a calendar for this. Let me pull out my calendar here and let me turn on the other screen so you guys can see it. And let's go like this and switch them. All right, so here I have my little handy organizer, and this is the comic I kind of sketched out here. So what I do is I fold an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and then I knock out 4 pages. And if I screw up or something, I kind of exit out and I do another page on another piece. So anyway, it's a 20-page comic. So there are five pieces here, right? And this was due a couple of weeks ago, along with my character designs, which I'd have to find. They're not close to me. So I bought a new uh, calendar here for organization. What is this? Just a blank piece of paper for some reason. Okay. And we are currently in March. So if we look, you could see that on Saturday, March 1st was when I was supposed to start. And that was to have like script finalized and everything. And then I was supposed to have, script, character, and layouts. And I kind of, since I'm an artist, I kind of draw my story like I just showed you, and I write as I draw. Now, sometimes I will write a full script, but most of the time it's just really writing as I draw. And what was I going to say? The script will always change until I letter my comic. Now, if I'm working for someone else, obviously there's different things going on in my work flow. For example, if I'm penciling, I would take the script, I would do some thumbnails, I'd show them, say, hey, are they cool? Get them approved. Start on the pencils, show them, get them approved, and then hand it off to the inker. If I'm doing other stuff, obviously there's a lot more approval process, and there'll be times, but I will set up like a calendar like this for myself. Now on the 16th, I was supposed to start the pencils. And if I turn into April, the pencils should be done by the 12th. So that really gives me 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks to complete the pencils. All right. Now, this week, I'll be honest, outside of bordering the pages, I didn't get to do any pencils. And I'll show you and actually give a little. I'm probably going to turn another light on here. Is that's what if I turn it? Will that it looks weird for my photo, but it might help with you guys seeing and drawing in here. Now, if I go over here, I have to start the inks, right? And I might actually move my complete inks date. Now, the reason I was doing it so quickly was because I was planning, I'm doing a show in June. I'm in May, June here. June 21st and 22nd, I believe it is. I'm doing Undiscovered Con in White Plains, New York. I'll be there with Incredikids and doing some kid section stuff and whatnot. But I wanted to have a new book for the show. And right now, and the reason I wanted it done by the end of April, so that by the first week of May, I had everything completed, and I could send it off to a printer and definitely have it printed by June, at the time in June. The more and more I think about it, I may not do that. I'm thinking, as I keep rereading the script, to although are they here? Do I drop them? I don't know where the heck I put them. But the folded sheets of paper that I had like this here, that I would release 4 strips a week, 4 pages a week online. So by me having, getting these five, or not, well, not five, the 5 pages here like this, but the 20 pages, that would give me 5 weeks of work. And I can constantly be ahead if I start posting, but I'd like to be a lot further ahead. I'm estimating this story. I'm sorry the camera keeps going out. It's a weird thing that happens when I move and actually hit my, I hit my microphone. So, I might want to do more. I'm estimating a 60-page story. So that would be like almost 4 months of posting if I was to put 4 pages out a week, I believe. No, did I do the math right? So if I'm doing 4 a week and it's 60 pages, that's what, 12 weeks. So 12 weeks is 4 months, right? So I'd have 4 months of posting, and it would be a nice way maybe to build some online followers, and that would, I'd have time to add more to it, to extra pages, to create another book, that book, but add some stuff to it. Now, what I'm going to get right now is I want to show you what I've done here. Now, this is the page, and I finished it today. That's why I'm going on so late today. And let me pull back with the camera a bit. It might go out again. Don't worry about it. I will. It'll come right back on. But this is for the cover, and this is the splash page for page 20. And you can see here, I spent the day bordering out, well, not all of them, but the majority of these pages because I was behind. And what I did was, some of these I estimated how big they're going to be. So if I need to make adjustments or redo a page or whatever, I'll do that. But yeah, it goes all the way, up to page 1. So this is page 2 right here. Wait, yeah, page 2, page 3. So I definitely have to put them in order because I always do a little label up in the top corner. That's page 4. Now, this little box, I have this angular box right here. It's going to be part of the panel. I haven't decided if I'm going to do a border around it yet, or if I'm going to try to make it pop in another way. For example, it'll be closer in the back here. I want to say it's like 17 or nope, maybe 16. Nope, not 18. How's 15 looking? Yeah, so it's page 15. I drew very lightly. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a circle right there. And that's because there's going to be an inset of a character's head talking. But the scene here is going to be kind of far back. So I'm thinking of just doing an inset of the character's head. So I just put that circle. That's where I want it. Now, if I do a border or I want to do like a burst or something, I'll add that after. Right now, though, it's just little notes for myself. And there are other notes in here. Not that page. Is it over here? There was a page I did where I wanted to make sure that even though I bordered something out, I don't want, like right here, there's no frame on this one here. So I didn't add a gutter like I did over here. I just drew a line down and this might be a burst probably, just for what's going on. Now, there's only 2 pages in the story that have it broken down into 4 rows. The rest of the pages are 3 or rows of 3. So now, one of the things I did, because I know you might be asking yourselves, for those who understand how comics are made, that I did the panels here, and they're obviously this line is close to well, not really the trim line, but it's not the safe area. Should I have worked smaller? Now this is 10 by 15, which is standard drawing size. The safe area, I don't have the exact measurements on me, but estimate about 9 by, say, 14. It's probably a little under 14 for the exact safe area. But yeah, 9 by 14, which, when you think about it, is the size. What is that is that B4 size, like that deleter paper that they I have some around here. I don't remember that exact size, but that's kind of the safe area. So why don't I mark that off? Is because I know, basically, if I had my page here, right, and I just think, if I keep all the important stuff away about an inch around completely, I'm safe with my drawing. Now, I can do that in my head. If you need to draw out a safe area, go for it. But this is how I work. Now, what I'm going to do, and where did I? Oh, here they are. Okay. So without giving anything away, I'm just going to keep using the first page as the example. So let's find page 1 real quick here. That should be page 2. So page 1 should be right here. All right. I know my table is going to start looking a little messy. This is how it looks when I work anyway, right? So I got a big, if you want to call it a splash panel, it's not really. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I always want like a nice introduction shot, and what's happening is one of the characters is looking at the sunrise. So I want this to be the sunrise. And I think, even though I didn't draw it here, I'm thinking something off in the corner to show that maybe someone's kind of looking at it. Excuse me. But at the same time, I want it to feel like you're really just looking at some kind of nature and not have the person there. So I'm not sure yet. And then it cuts to kind of another faraway shot where you can tell it's the sunrise, but now we see kind of a guy, well, kind of a man and a woman, very small, standing on a deck, and the wife hands her husband. So her name's Sarah, he's Hank. At least for now, the names could always change. Here's your coffee, and then they kind of have a little loving embrace in this panel. I didn't want to make it huge because I want other stuff to be explained. And then here is a close-up of him with her in the background, telling him to, giving him time alone, saying, enjoy the sunrise. And then in the next panel, she says, I'm going to wake the kids. And he's sipping the coffee as she's in the background. Now, the reason I made this panel bigger is because I want to show some of the interior of the home in this one. All right. And it's going to explain a lot of the story when you see how the interior looks, or at least the beginning. Then as you move on to page 2 here, and I don't remember if it was page 2 or page 3. So let me show both. That's page 2 and page 3. I did a little change up on them. So if we look at page 2 right now, it's the daughter's room, and the mother's in here waking her up. And, here is, hey, Mom, let me sleep. And then she's like, oh, we got to finish packing and get ready to leave. And the mother tells her something, and she's shocked, and she's jumping right out of bed. So I wanted more of a facial reaction here than her jumping out of bed being like the big, oh my god, let's go type of thing, you know. Um, whoops. And then you move on to page 3, and that's probably where I made my edit. And oh no, I'm thinking further on is where the edit would be. But this is one of the other pages that has 4 rows or tiers, if that's what you want to call them. That's kind of like the pro term. And then she's in the son's room, and I made it a little smaller so I could focus on their dog. All right, which is sleeping right here at the bottom of the bed, and then the dog's really the one to wake up the son. And I wanted to have a fun, almost like animated movement of the kid waking up um, in bed there. And then here the dog's going to be licking his face, and then it's mom, son, and the dog in the picture. And then when you move on to 4, where is page 4? Right here. This is the one where it's in the big panel. You know, they're packing the car. Here they are flying through the forest, and then this is the interior of the car, and then a close up on the daughter where she's saying, "Dad, stop the car," as she's looking out the window. So what I might do, and I'm not sure, I'm either going to I might want to change this, and this could be a really shocked, like a I don't want to draw on here right now, but like almost like a God, I'm blanking on terminology right now. Like a burst almost here, because it's supposed to be a shocking moment for her. So you'll notice the daughter already has 2 moments where she's shocked. So there's a bit of her personality where she's a teenager, and she has that, like overreacting type of personality. Although maybe here she's not overreacting, who knows? But that's what's going on in the comic. So what I'm going to start doing, and this week I'm going to have, I have a very busy week, and what I mean by that is I have every day except for Thursday I have something planned where I'm going to be waking up very early in the morning. And I'm kind of a guy who goes to bed really late, so it's going to suck. It's going to be a lot of coffee and a lot of I might have a slow drawing week is what I'm saying. I do physical therapy twice a week on my shoulder, which is my drawing arm. And actually over the weekend, it didn't hurt that well. When I had it on Friday, it didn't hurt like it usually did. So I think I'm getting more accustomed to it. But with me, there's always something. So, we never know. And for those of you, if you're watching and this is new to you, I'm just looking for where I put my water. Oh, a little further away in the room. Let me grab it. My story is is highly influenced by 70s and 80s mecha, like anime and manga. So that's what I'm doing. The name of the book is called The Thunder Mark 7, and this is the Thunder Mark, or Thunder Mark 7. So he's a giant robot. It's a giant robot story. And I love drawing this character. I have a lot of fun drawing the giant robots, and I really wanted to give them that 70s feel. I just didn't want to make them as stiff as sometimes they made those robots. Because one of the things I thought about, and I know this isn't happening, at least not for a very, very, very long time in the story of this comic character, whatever you want to call it, is a toy. I said, if I had a toy, how would I want it to be able to move and function? And I thought of it more like a transformer, and I can like kind of see like a Optimus Prime type of character running with this. So that's kind of where I was going with this here. But yeah, and he's obviously going to be controlled. I was looking characters up, like how tall is Voltron, how tall is Optimus Prime, how tall is Transor Z, or who all these other robots, right? And so I'm still deciding on his height, but I don't think he's going to get bigger than 300 feet. I think that is going to be the max height when I finally decide on it, because I need to know it kind of, you know, by the second part of the story. In the first part of the story, where we see him, it's not going to matter much. But you'll start seeing more scale stuff for him in the second part. So I got to make a decision on how tall. So is he the size of a football field laying down, which is I think kind of what Voltron is. You know. So yeah, this is what's been going on, where I'm at with the comic, and hopefully soon I won't be feeling behind. Now I haven't decided if I am going to go to print with this, and kind of use it to drum up some interest in it, as well as post it online, and and then finish the story online, and then eventually turn it into a book. I still have to figure that out. The online stuff just kind of came to me today while I was paneling out stuff, and it took a while because I was watching TV while I did it, so I wasn't paying too much attention to the stuff. And But yeah, let me draw something. Before I start drawing, and this is probably who I'm going to draw today. Where is it here? I put a lot of stuff on the floor so they were easy to reach, and now I'm having a little trouble remembering which section of the floor I put it on. So, I put a post on Instagram and Facebook, and it was my character Plunger Pup through the years. Now, if you don't know who Plunger Pup is, back in 1992, and I'm going to put up a drawing I did of him yesterday. Back in 1992, I created this character. He didn't look exactly like this. It took a while for him to develop, especially with the muscles. Number one, I had to learn to draw muscles better. Number two, this is actually based on a fan art that someone did for me, where they really made him really heroically muscular, superhero stuff. Usually he's very cartoony for me. And let me see. Give me a second. What I do with my phone? This is how I am all the time, never finding things I need. I don't know why I just sang that, but oh God. All right, that's my life. I don't know where my phone is right now. I probably left it out of the studio. I thought I had it. Oh well. What I wanted to do is I had some images of different designs of him, and so the way I created him is 1992, I believe it was. I was homesick, and I used to watch a lot of the Disney Afternoon. Loved Darkwing Duck, all those animal cartoons were like my favorite stuff, and I used to draw animal characters all the time, right? And I remember being homesick and watching a recording of Darkwing Duck. And the villain on that episode was Megavolt. And I didn't know he was a rat. I honestly thought he was a dog because the ears kind of, flopped down. And I looked at the plug he had on top of his head, and I said, if you put a stick in there, it looks like he's wearing a plunger. So I drew a dog with a plunger. If I knew he was a rat, I'd probably have a rat or a mouse as a hero, right? And I kind of had a costume that was very similar to Megavolts, where he had the bands coming down around them. Because if you guys remember, let me get a piece of paper here. Okay, so if you remember Megavolt, and I need a pencil. Let me get my pencil case out. You would think I'd be more prepared doing these things, huh? Give me a sec here. Which pencil do I want to use? We'll go with, is this my, no, you know what I want? I want this right here. So let me get an eraser. Oh, my erasers are out of the bag, but my pencil wasn't. Okay. That's sharp enough. Okay. So if you remember Megavolt, and I don't remember him exactly, but he kind of looked like this. He had a big nose. His eyes were kind of down, right? He was kind of cross-eyed, but he had this plug sticking out of him. And I should have realized that he was a rat now that I look at him, and his ears came down like that, right? And he had this, I think he had a collar. No, he had a thing that opened up, right? I don't remember. Anyway, what he had this outlet on him. I don't remember if it had that, but I'll put it there. And then it had these like straps that came over him, right? And I'm like, oh, okay. So my first idea of drawing Plunger Pup kind of looked like this. And I'll make him happy. He had these floppy ears. And his body, I gave him a little thing around here. And this really was how he looked. So there he is, and he had these gloves that came down, and he had this here. Then he had this. And I think he originally had boots. And he originally had I don't think I gave him underwear. I think he had oh no, he probably did. He probably had some kind of underwear. I have to find the original drawing. I still have it somewhere. But that was based on this character. I drew this, right? And then he kind of came down into this. And the reason I'm talking about Plunger Pup is not just because I drew him the other day, but I thought it'd be fun to draw. I haven't drawn him in a while. And while I've been creating the Thunder Mark and some other stories I got, he really, I've been thinking a lot about him. And I've thought about him on and off for years. And I'd love to bring him back. And basically, he became almost Green Lantern like, in the, if you, I mean, and I'm not going to lie, I looked at Green Lantern a lot for this. And as a matter of fact, he's basically Hal Jordan meets, I don't want to use Hal Jordan. He's kind of got the Green Lantern's abilities in a way, or mixed with Luke Skywalker. So it's basically, what if, I guess, Luke Skywalker was a Green Lantern? And he had his magic plunger right there, which is kind of like the ring and a lightsaber at the same time. All right. And then that became him. And that was Plunger Pup, who I've been drawing for a long, and really that's kind of how he stayed. I have comics that I've done with him back in the late '90s to early 2000s, um, where this is kind of how he looked. And then about a year ago, I started to play around with him again, and I need another sip of water. Where did I put it? On the floor. So what I needed to do while drawing Plunger Pup, or well, not while I was drawing him, but um, when I started thinking about bringing him back. Oops, I'm just sharpening my pencil point here. By the way, if you use these 2mm leads, trying to sharpen it a little better. I really love this uni sharpener. I'll bring it up closer to the camera if I can hold it properly. So can you see it? It's too shadowed. Okay, it's this little, I'm going to guess it's green, or maybe it's gray. Who knows? Maybe it's brown. I don't know. Putting it in the light now. Can I see it? No, I still can't. What if I bring the camera down? Just thinking, up, went out again. It'll come right back. Give it a second. Can we see it now? Okay, and it says uni on it. And what happens is just open it up, stick it in, sharpen it. You know, when you have the more traditional sharpeners of these, I tend to break the lead. And also to empty it, there's a little thing you slide out. Whoops, can't see it right back there. I love these things. I also have this, and they come with and without a 2mm sharpener. This is also another great sharpener. I love it for regular pencils because this side sharpens the wood around the pencil, and then this makes the point. But here we got a short sharpen. I believe the red is short and the white is long sharpen, or vice versa. I don't know. It's been a while. But sometimes, you know, I do need to replace the blade, and this becomes annoying to replace stuff in. But so that's the. So yeah, this is, I think, the long. White is for long. The red is for short. Anyway, that's a pretty decent one too. But I started to redraw Plunger Pup a bit. And as I was redrawing him, you know, I always keep the plunger on top of his head. I think that's a fun thing. You know, he's a kid-friendly kind of comic. So, you know, having that, I kind of thinned him out a little bit more with his face. I still have his eyes like that. Let's skip. You know, and I'm just going to leave the eyes like that. But for a while, I was playing around more with a couple of different anime style eyes. You know, playing with, oh, what if I tried to bring in highlights and stuff? So like I did the traditional, oh, I'm just going to do one and keep it very simple. I tried one where I have this here, I had the shine over here, and then this was shaded in, and then this would have, bring that down a little bit more, and this would have been the color, and, you know, play around inside. So I played around with different eyes, and I wasn't really happy. I think if I keep any, it's going to go like that, just to keep it, you know, simple. But I like the solid black eyes. And then, you know, let's give him a smile. And let's just take this eraser here real quick. Just to remove that. And he's always had, because he's a dog, right? He's always had this collar on. Now, it's just like a little donut, but I've always thought of it as kind of like a dog collar on him. And just to get his body in for now, I kind of went a little bit more what's the word I'm looking for? More anatomical. Instead of cartoony where he was so round, I went more with actual muscles, but still stylized, not like this picture. This picture was, like I said, inspired by fan art someone did for me. All right, and Plunger Pup. And then I'll just keep his hands over here, right? Okay. So there we go. I kind of always wanted him to be kind of lean, so I never really drew him muscular. Just, what a lean, muscular guy would look like, not overly big and, say that for, and just always like kind of cartoony, right? And that was Plunger Pup. And what I've recently done in the last year was play around with different costume designs. And one of them was, again, kind of like influenced by anime. I'll just show the costume, kind of what I was doing. I was watching a lot of, when I was drawing it, I was watching a lot of My Hero Academia, and I was like, oh, okay, and I like those costumes, and so let's just get a. I'm not gonna. There was nothing different about his. I'll just draw circles for the hands right now. So what I did was I had the plunger in here, but I added an extra circle to it. And the reason I'm saying no to these costumes, and I'm kind of keeping this one though, although I might do a few adjustments, is because when you draw a character constantly for a comic, I don't want all that extra. I'm sorry, I didn't do that to it. I left it alone. So I had these. This design. So the plunger, it sits in an orange circle. That's the color, right? And what I did was I added a white outline around it. And so when you look at it, and then it has these stripes going out, right? This is orange, this is orange, this is orange, and these were white. So I was adding a bit of a design to it. And then I did the gloves, and I added a bit more on the gloves. And the belt didn't have a buckle, but it had more lines on it. And there were patches in here for the elbow. And on the knee. And I like the costume. I just don't like it for this right now. All right. It becomes a little too real, if you will. And there was a design there that came down underneath that. And he had more metallic kind of gauntlets over him. And then that was kind of the design that I did with. And although I think it looked really nice. I'm thinking if there was anything else. I think I played around with bringing this down and playing with this here. So the colors, I broke up the colors of the costume. So yeah, I don't know, but what I really just enjoyed about this, and it was fun to draw a super strong looking Plunger Pup. Now, one thing also, his belt buckle is always the colored in, and his belt was always white. And when I did this one, I reversed it. I kind of like some of the thickness of the blacks. So I'm thinking of when I do decide to bring him back that I might actually have these black stripes and a black belt buckle on his on his gloves, boots, and not buckle on his belt. So that's kind of what I'm playing with here. And I've done things where I experimented with, oh, will he have little, like a snout? Where do I want to change that up? You know, um, haven't decided yet. I'm still playing around with all these things. But I thought for now, the one thing I would do is I wanted to draw um, one of my favorite characters from the comic. I have a bunch. I was creating stuff. It was almost my entire high school and early college was creating stuff for Plunger Pup. So I literally started just parodying other heroes or looking at things that dealt with plumbing, um, or just carpentry, like tradesmen's type of stuff, and try to make heroes based on that. Um, but one of my favorites, it's actually Plunger Pup's cousin. His name is Hydrant Hound, and he's a water elemental. So let me just get this in here. And he has a hydrant. He wears a fire hydrant on his head. And this guy was always so fun to draw. This was actually a lot of people's favorite because they thought looking at the fire hydrant was really just fun and silly. Let's give this a bigger eye. And I'm just going to do them in pencil. I don't want to go crazy. Let's bring this down. And he's the reason I didn't give Plunger Pup the little freckles in the snout or whatever, or whisker holes, whatever you want, because he had them, and I didn't want to, even though they're related, I didn't want to make them look like they were too much of the same, animal, just because you're cousins doesn't mean you have to look exactly alike, right? Mm-hmm. God, it's been so long since I've drawn him. And I know it looks like he's got the plunger in his. It's had a shine on it. I think I used to draw. Mm. Mm. He had a really large belt on him that it was a yellow belt with just lines in it. And almost all my characters in the Plunger Pup universe, all the superheroes, have this collar, whether they're a dog, a monkey, it didn't matter the animal type. It was just something that became a stylistic choice on them. All right. All right. All right. And oh, in his hand, see if I remember how to draw this. His weapon was a fire hydrant wrench. So, and since he was a water elemental, he could try to turn his bottom half into water. And so, and he also, I remember, he had a yellow stripe that kind of came down and then come up under, like how Spider-Man, uh, webbing would go. Okay. And I'll just do a quick little shade in here because his costume was gray. So right there is Hydrant Hound. And I'm going to zoom out a little bit. The camera might go off for a moment. Hold on. So that's Hydrant Hound right there. And maybe we'll put another character into the background. Let me sharpen again. There we go. Oh, okay. That's the point I want. And let's add in here. Now, this actually right here is the very first superhero or cartoon character I ever created when I was 8 years old. Like I said, all these characters were parodies of other superheroes and other characters that I loved. And so as a kid, one of my favorite cartoons, and to this day, just one of my favorite characters was Mighty Mouse. And I said, okay, well, instead of Mighty Mouse, I'll have Mighty Monkey, not realizing at that time he was a parody of Superman, right? So I said, let's create these characters here, right? Let's create a monkey, and he was the first one I drew for years. Now, when I drew him originally, he didn't look like this. He had that Superman kind of like spit curl. And as the years progressed and I got to be a better cartoonist and I learned about things, in art and design, he ended up with a propeller beanie on top of his head. And we'll have this arm out like that. And he had a little collar thing around, oh, not collar, but little thing at the end of his sleeve there, a little bump. Right. He's got the other cape there, and you're not going to see his feet from behind there. So let's just. And Mighty Monkey was always one of my favorite characters because he was very much just someone. He's like he just wants to be kind of left alone, watch TV, not be bothered. You know, you'll see some of his M over here. Now, I have redesigned his costume since then, made it more of a sci-fi themed looking costume, a little more updated and futuristic. And I've done that to actually quite a few of the characters, the ones that are going to have more of an appearance in the comic and what I'm thinking with the stories. But you guys seeing that there? I'm just curious. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Sorry, no, you're not. It's okay. I just or yeah. Sorry, I'm just trying to. I have a second screen up. I didn't know if you guys could see it. Let me just see real quick. You kind of can, but it's no big deal. Okay, whatever. It's just right now. It's on my Facebook screen, but it's not a big deal. So yeah, that's Mighty Monkey, and he had a little kind of thing under his eye there sometimes. Who else can I add in here? This is a character a lot of people like. I had a character. He was a duck, and he was he was a duck with the powers of mythology. Mythic Mallard. He had these like Spider-Man kind of there were more goggles than, but they were influenced by Spider-Man there. And I'll put him like this, so you can see a little more of his costume. And actually, this is kind of how he stood a little bit while he floated, or flew. Now he had all these great powers of myth, and he had was a sash that would be blowing in the wind. Oh, and he had a medallion over here. So this came down into a medallion, and it had some kind of pattern in there. And even though, and he had these bracelets on his arms, or gauntlets, whatever you want to call them. And I'll put up one foot so you could see it, which if I move, you can see it. So he had a foot that came down into there. And what he had, this should be like this. He had, where did I put him? I think on the bottom. He had winged shoes that flew him around. So he wore a pair, and he would be able to fly with the winged shoes. So yeah, this was the majority of my team here, along with Plunger Pup. That was being built. But yeah, another character that people, and I redesigned it, but I'm not going to draw the redesign right now. Excuse me. I really want him to be the surprise. But I had another character called the Phantom Plumber. And the Phantom Plumber, you want to think of him as like, again, I was influenced by, like I said, Green Lantern and Star Wars. So think about, he's kind of my Ben Kenobi, And all this stuff that I'm drawing is going to disappear in a moment because we're going to keep that up. Bring that down. Okay, and he has his plunger there, but he always wore a hood, so up until a certain point, you had no clue who he was. And actually, at one, well, that's not 100. At one point, he was like the most known, or you knew who he was quickly in one of the stories I did. So all that would get erased, and then something that came down like that. So you knew he was in kind of like a plunger pup style costume, but you had no clue who he was, and he had a sash too because he was a much older warrior, you know. He had a longer handle on his plunger. And although this was made for kids, I did throw a joke in here that I didn't really promote, but Plunger Pup flies around in a giant toilet bowl. Like, this is his spaceship, right? And there's others, and don't forget the handle. There were others that flew around in more of what would be, I know it's going to look like the top of the plunger here that he wears on his head, but this went back and it had these little things on the bottom here. There was like, I think 5 or 7 of them or something like that. So we'll put another one. But this was based on a shower head, you know? Um, so they flew around in shower heads. But I didn't want him to have that. So I drew a porta potty for him. And instead of calling it, whatever, I took this from Doctor Who. So instead of the TARDIS, he flew around in the TARDIS. So yeah, this was his thing, and flames over here and whatever. But that was that character. And this is, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm still working on Thunder Mark 7. I'm working on another 2 comics. One of them I'm kind of in the process of doing right now. The other one is going to be when I'm done with the Thunder Mark 7. But Plunger Pup's being written that I want to start drawing his entire story in 2026 and really make him my 2026 project. I want him completely written by the end of 2025. So I'm drawing him in 2026. So by maybe mid or end 2026, I can start putting him out online. Yeah, I got plans to take me into multiple years, but that's kind of what I've been doing. So yeah, uh, I don't know if I have anything else to really talk about tonight. Um, Maybe I could do one more quick drawing. Uh, let's do. I'll show you kind of one of the characters or not one that I'm playing with, but it's just kind of an idea of a sci-fi hero. Because that's what I've been playing a lot in the world for, his gun over here, and maybe do we have enough room to give him another gun? I have been thinking of a. Let's put his head this way. I have been thinking about a western, and I don't know if I'm going to do like a space western. Obviously, not a Star Wars version, but I really just enjoy a lot of westerns, and I don't feel there's a lot of good ones out right now. Although I did hear confirmation that there's going to be a Young Guns 3, which should be interesting. Young Guns is one of my favorites. I'm just curious how they're going to tell another Billy the Kid story. But Emilio Estevez is supposed to be directing, and he's coming back, obviously to reprise his role. Same thing with Lou Diamond Phillips and oh God, what was his name? Why am I blanking on his name? Uh, God, Christian Slater. They're all supposed to be coming back for this. Whoops, wrong positioning. All right. I don't know who to make this now. I mean, it's similar to a character I'm developing. I don't want to draw the actual character right now. I'm a big fan of Flash Gordon, Buck Rogers, all those. That era of science fiction is some of my favorite stuff. I love when you have a computer monitor that actually looks like a monitor or screen, a television set, something instead of those just holographic ones that just kind of appear and you touch the air and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I don't like those too much. So when I do my sci-fi, I really enjoy creating interiors of ships with machinery and so let's bring in some. All right. You can't see what I'm doing for the boots right now. Let's just get this kind of shaded in a little bit. Leave a little kind of shine and highlight here going down. Let's give him a holster over here. Sure, that should be further back right there. And we'll do an interesting kind of gun right here. Okay. We're just gonna go standard gloves. And let's just give him kind of like a Flash Gordon type of shirt. Let's go with a buckle. Give him a little pouch over here. And this over here, this hand, I'm going to turn down like that. Maybe he's going to be holding some kind, like a sword. Flash Gordon always had a sword. So let's do something like that. Let's bring in his gloves as well. Right. If he has a sword, actually, it doesn't make sense. If he's right-handed, I would probably, I don't know. I mean, I guess you can have the gun in the right side, but the sword usually is pulled from across. So I'd probably put his holster on the other side and his sword. What do you call it? Whatever. I'm bad with words tonight. All right. Let's give this just a heavy collar so we can tell what it is there. And maybe he's got something here that goes onto a strap above him and connects down. This is kind of the Cyclops moment, where he's got his X-Men pack thing there. Let's just give him that from Cyclops and see what happens. In design. And you know what? This could actually be, I'll even put one out like this. This could actually be like a cloak that he's wearing. Or just a cape. I won't make it as long as a cloak. So we can pull this one out a little bit more. And now we got a sci-fi character, which I think I might take some of the stuff I'm designing into that character that I'm working on right now. I mean, the stuff that I'm drawing at this moment and bring it into the sci-fi hero that I'm playing with right now. But don't forget the nips. Thank you. The shirt's not that tight. Okay. Although I'm making it look tighter, showing off all the muscles on that arm and nothing on here, right? Whatever. It's all good. Yeah, I kind of like this guy here. I'll bring it up the camera a little higher so you can see it all. I didn't draw the feet, but you know. I don't know if he's a hero with that face. So, yeah, I guess with that, I'm gonna wrap up. Um, so first off, thank you all for watching. I know I kind of messed up my schedule a little bit, but again, I had some issues with my mostly with my arm. I'll be honest. I could have I didn't have a super busy work week with my day gig that I wasn't really tired that I could have drawn, but due to my shoulder, um, and having to keep my foot elevated because I hurt my foot, um, I just wasn't in a comfortable position to really sit down and draw. Like when I'm in sitting on the couch, and I'm sitting up and my legs are up, or I have the same thing while I'm in bed. Oh, hey man, thanks. When I'm doing that, it's just sometimes it's hard to get into the right position. When you want to draw at a certain size. If I'm on my iPad or if I'm on my just a small clipboard, 8.5 by 11, I could I could draw. It's not difficult. But when I'm using 11 by 17 paper and I'm on my big clipboard and I'm holding it up like this at an angle, but I'm still supposed to keep my leg elevated, um, I just really wasn't comfortable. And that's the main reason I didn't get work done this week. Um, excuse me. I'm glad I boarded out my entire comic. Every page is boarded out. Ooh, excuse me again. Sorry about that. Um, I'm honestly thrilled that I did that. It's I'm just unhappy that I didn't get any drawing done. But this week, um, I'm going to make sure that I could at least. The goal is to at least get 1 page a day. It's 20 pages. I have another two. I think I have 2 weeks in my schedule, but if I have to adjust it, I'm going to adjust it. Um, life happens. And during my inking schedule, I got two family events on the weekends. Like 2 weekends in a row. So I know that's going to cause me inking issues. So what am I supposed to do about that? I can't help. So I may have to adjust my schedule, but I would like to get these 20 pages printed for the convention that I'm doing in June. Um, and if I don't, I'm not going to be too upset because I do want to release it in completion online, maybe on a webtoon or something like that. I haven't decided where and how yet, but if I could put out 4 pages a week of a 60-page story, like I said, that's 12 weeks. That's 4 months of comic that I can give people. Um, and hopefully people will enjoy it. I'm doing a lot of different comics right now. I did the Wiz for 2 years, technically three if you go back to my 2018 to 2019 work. But I did him 2 years straight, and I love that character, and I love all the stuff I'm doing, or did with him, and I could have, if I didn't have any other ideas in my life, like I didn't have other stories I wanted to do, I could probably have drawn the Wiz maybe the rest of my life, or at least a good another few years of stories I had in me. And hopefully one day I'll get back to the Wiz. But right now, I have so many stories I want to tell. A lot of it being sci-fi. This guy right here. If you look at it, it's very super heroic, but it's influenced by um, and I'm not saying this for drawing styles because I'll never draw like that, but it's, Alex Raymond, it's Hal Foster. Those guys really influenced me with what they were doing in comics back many, many years ago. And was it last week or 2 weeks ago on my live stream, when I was talking with one of my guests, I came to realize that even though I love all those old comics, I love, classics, superhero stuff, Kurt Swan being my favorite Superman artist, and, loving Kirby and Gil Kane and all these other greats. And and I've studied their work, and you can see my influence, in their influence in some of my work. I really think it was the sci-fi fantasy things that I grew up on, like He-Man being probably my biggest influence. I love to draw those types of characters. They don't always have to be barbarians, but I like to mix, that fantasy aspect of people with swords and clubs and whatever, with some kind of scientific or sci-fi weapon, put them on spaceships. I love all that type of stuff. And Master of the Universe, I think, really was the one that did that for me. So I'm starting to see how, when I draw the story, or when I create the stories, that no matter what story I create outside of, like comedy stuff, like Wiz things, I really see He-Man in everything I'm doing. I'll be like, oh, that guy looks like Man at Arms, or oh, this character is very much, Mechanic or something. It's, seeing these personalities, and I keep, although I moved them, I guess, recently, but I've always kept the mini comics around in my studio somewhere, and I when I cleaned up my studio, I didn't know where they were, and then I cleaned them up again, and I found them, and I've been keeping them next to my drawing table, but I think I moved them recently to read in another section of the studio. Not that it's big, I just probably put it by my computer on another table. And I'm, and I have I think it's Dark Horse who put it out. I have that. I'm looking at it right in front of me. If I lean the camera, I don't know if I could do it. Let's see. Hold on. Let's bring this down, and whoops, wrong way. Oh, there it goes. So unless I turn it like this, hold on. Okay. Let's see if the camera comes back on. And I'm going to switch. Okay, so right now you're looking at my side here. That's one of my walls. I may not be able to get the... Oh, shit, that didn't sound good. Sorry. You might not be able... I may not be able to get the angle that I really want here. Oh, there. Well, you can see it. It's upside down, but it says He-Man and Masters of the Universe newspaper comics. I got... sorry, keeps going out. I got some Superman there. That's it's the Golden Age Superman, and that's the Wayne Boring Superman books. Then I got Roy Thomas Batman. I got Batman the Animated Series. Right now, the closest thing you got to like an art of book. You can't really see it, but it's in between. It's right there in between Superman and stuff. And then I got some, like the Bart Sears drawing books I just recently backed back in, like, I don't know, was it October, November? I was a big Bart Sears fan in the 90s, some of it in the 80s. And he's actually a, hello. I'm just switching I'm going to switch the cameras back. But he's actually a, what do you call it? He used to do some toys. Some of the toys I used to play with as a kid in the 80s, he was some of the designer on them. So, like, even without knowing him or his name, his work has been, very influential to me. So when he put out his his what do you call it? The Drawing Powerful Heroes Volume 1 and Volume 2, and the soft covers were up. I'm like, oh, I gotta take a look. And oh, wrong camera. You can't really see it. You know, I said I got to get a copy, and Drawing Powerful Heroes right here, and how he goes about doing it. And he worked. I mean, I actually remember having this particular book. Um, and although I don't draw like him, and I never will, I know that, I've been looking a lot at this more for inspiration, and I've read a little bit of it, but the over muscular stuff is just not my style. But yeah, it's a really nice. These are really nice books. If he has them at a show and you can meet him at a show, pick them up. Um, Another book I recently picked up and just to show you, that I've really been flipping through, and mostly because I love his designs of like machinery type of stuff. Where is it? Right? Oh, sorry, upside down, because it's a Japanese book, um, but it's called The World of what's his name there? Akira Toriyama created Dragon Ball, and a few other things. And I haven't broken the spine yet, so you can see it's not broken. But you can see the little Goku piece here. I love these little type of things that he does. These little machines. I'm actually watching the Dragon Ball cartoon right now on Crunchyroll from, I guess it was 1986. And first of all, I never watched it, and I was never a Dragon Ball fan. I just couldn't get into it back when it was on in the 90s, and maybe that's because I was doing other things, studying other artwork. I was in high school or in college, and maybe I wasn't looking at it as an audience. But yeah, man, I just love how he draws so many different things here. Excuse me, but this show, I'm still in season 1. Probably early on. I think I'm in like the teens right now, or early 20s. But I'm finding it fun. I'm also going through the Shonen Jump app and reading some of the manga because I just love looking at his artwork. And I'm loving a lot of these things right now. But his vehicles, like, okay, first of all, this vehicle right here kicks ass. Okay, these are the type of things I truly love in vehicles. It's one of the reasons, like, if you look at, what was the comic, I always blank on the name, but I love it, Mr. Ho. That was great. These are the type of interiors to, like, spaceships I like to do. I know she's not technically in a spaceship, but I love all this stuff here. And I'm starting to notice more and more when I cartoon, outside of like my go-to characters like Plunger Pup, but when I'm just cartooning, I'm noticing a little bit more of his influence in me here. Like, look at this. This is just so cool. I love these things here. Dr. Slump, which I've never read. I haven't read a lot of his work. I was familiar with it art-wise, but I've never read a lot. And like these are the type of, like, sci-fi type of things. Like, you can see his sci-fi-ness, really has that the what do you call it? It's a cartoony Flash Gordon. Think of it, or Buck Rogers. Think of it that way. He might be wearing a type of suit of armor, but I know nothing about this. This is for Dragon Quest, which I believe was a video game, or was it a book? I can't remember, but it's I think that was a video game. and he did the designs. But this looks like a pilot, a navigator or something. I just freaking love that. Whoops. Other photos of him. But yeah, this is really, really cool. Like okay, again, I'm not a gamer. I never played Dragon Quest. I don't know anything about it. I don't know even if it was released in America. But I could say for a fact I love the designs. And I know there's like an Art of Dragon Quest book, and that's going to be on my Amazon wish list very, very soon. Anyway, I'm gonna wrap this up here. I did go a lot longer than I thought. It's already almost 10 o'clock, and my time. I don't know what time it is by you guys, but I do need to. Oh, actually, I know I'm ending. I keep talking. I posted this online earlier. This was kind of. I was actually watching Dragon Ball this morning, and I doodled a pencil of this, and then I kind of. And then I just decided to ink it and add a little gray tone to it. And I did post that this is, I feel, more like how I approach my cat. That's why I didn't put a picture of anything here. Like I sometimes I'll do these to let the viewer kind of come up with what's going on in this. Is he moving slowly towards something? Is he backing away? What is right over here? And I try to let my audience fill that in. So I tend to do that a lot. But I've been having to give my cat medicine right now because he had some ear surgery a couple of Wednesdays ago, and he's wearing his cone of shame right now, and he doesn't like this stuff. So when I put eardrops in, and so I have to approach him very carefully, and that kind of reminded me of how I have to do it. But with that, I'm going to take off, guys. It's already 10 o'clock. I do have to get up early in the morning tomorrow, and I probably have a good 3 hours awake, unfortunately, because that's just me. Uh, so thank you all for tuning in tonight. I really had a lot of fun drawing and talking. I'll be back next week with an update and hopefully be able to show you a bunch of penciled pieces. All right. I will talk to you all later. You have a great night or great day wherever you're watching. And if you're an artist, just keep doing your art, man. And I'd love to see what you guys do.